Funny how the worst things in life don't come with fireworks. No thunderclap, no screaming tires. Just a quiet evening, a lukewarm cup of coffee, and a feeling in your gut like something's gone off in the fridge. You don't know what's rotting yet, but it's there. You just haven't opened the door. Melissa and I had been married for 18 years. She was the kind of woman who laughed with her whole face, who talked with her hands when she got excited, who still got goosebumps when I brushed her neck in just the right spot. At least, she used to. I was 45, she was 43. We had 2 kids, Sarah, 16, and Max, 14. Good kids. Smart, stubborn like their mother, curious like me. We lived in a modest home in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place where you mow the lawn on Sundays and wave to your neighbor whether you like him or not. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was full. We had our routines, the coffee maker going off at 6:15 every morning, Saturday breakfast at that greasy diner 2 blocks down, movie nights every other Friday. Melissa was a school counselor, I was in logistics, mostly warehouse operations. Steady work. Pays the bills. Gets me home for dinner. I thought we were happy. We weren't perfect, but we were solid. You know? Then her father died. It wasn't sudden, cancer took him slow. By the time the end came, he was more bones than man. Melissa held his hand when he passed. I stayed with the kids. After the funeral, she started going over to her mom's every weekend. She needs me, she said, and I believed her. Hell, I encouraged it. Told her to take all the time she needed. Her mother had just lost her husband of 45 years, I couldn't imagine that kind of grief. So I stayed home, made pancakes for the kids, cleaned up, did the laundry. I didn't mind. This was what love looked like, wasn't it? At first it was just weekends. Then it became Friday nights too. Then sometimes she wouldn't come back until late Sunday. I noticed the shift, but I didn't question it. Not at first. I chalked it up to grief, a fog she'd come out of when she was ready. But the fog didn't lift. She started checking her phone more. Smiling at texts she didn't tell me about. Locking her screen when I walked into the room. One night I went to kiss her, and she turned her cheek instead. Said she was tired. And I remember standing there like an idiot, lips half pursed, wondering what the hell just happened. Still, I didn't say anything. You don't throw grenades into your own living room just because something feels off. But I felt it. Little things. She stopped humming while she cooked. Stopped asking about my day. When I told her something funny Max did, she smiled like it was the polite thing to do, not because it touched her. And I knew. Not all at once. Just, slowly. Like the way you notice the leaves changing. One day it's green, next it's not. So I started looking. Not out of malice, more like a man poking at a loose floorboard. Just needed to know if it was really rotten under there. I checked our phone records. Looked at the itemized call log. That's where I first saw the name, Jake. Jake. Short name, heavy with history. High school sweetheart. First love, last mistake, or so she used to say. I remembered her telling me how she'd cried for weeks when he left for college out west, how he'd broken her heart. We'd joked about him over the years. Turns out, the joke was on me. The calls started small. 1 or 2 here and there. Then they ballooned. Half-hour calls at night. Texts at 2 a.m. Bank transactions followed. 2 charges at a little B&B 2 towns over, the same weekend she claimed she was with her mom. That was when the floor gave out. I didn't confront her right away. I'm not a yeller. I sat with it, let the truth soak into my bones. I watched our wedding video that night. She had tears in her eyes when we said our vows. So did I. Funny thing, betrayal doesn't feel like a punch. It feels like being left out in the cold, waiting for a door to open that never does. When she came back Sunday evening, I was sitting at the kitchen table. Kids were upstairs. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and rotisserie chicken. She walked in with that tired smile, kissed me on the forehead like a stranger passing through. I looked up and said, "How's your mom?" She blinked. "Same as yesterday. Just needs me around." I nodded. "You sure you were with her all weekend?" There was a flicker, a shift in her eyes. Not fear, not guilt. Just calculation. "Of course. Why would you ask that?" And there it was. The lie, plain as day. That's where I'll stop for now. There's more to say. A hell of a lot more. But this was the moment I knew, the woman I'd built my life with had already started tearing it down, quietly, without my help. And all I could do was sit there and watch it crumble. She stood in front of me, arms crossed, bag still slung over her shoulder. Her expression was flat, not guilt, not anger. Just tired. Like she'd been rehearsing for this. I held her gaze. "You weren't with your mom," I said. "You were at a place called Cedar Pines Inn. Room 207. You checked in Friday evening. Checked out this morning. 2 nights, king suite." She didn't speak. Not right away. Just blinked, lips pressed tight. So I pressed on. "And you weren't alone." Her jaw shifted like she was chewing on a response she didn't want to swallow. I checked the phone logs, Melissa. The texts. The calls. "Jake. You've been talking to him for months." Still nothing. I should have been yelling. Slamming fists or throwing something. That's what men do in movies, right? But I couldn't move. My voice didn't even rise. I just sat there, as still as I could, holding the last thread of the life I thought we had. "I didn't want to believe it," I said. "God knows I didn't. But you lied. And not just once. Every time you said you were going to your mom's, every time you looked me in the eye and kissed me goodbye." Her eyes started to glisten. And I hated that I still cared. Hated that part of me wanted to comfort her, even now. "Daniel." "No," I said. Not loud. Just firm. "Please don't start with my name like that. Just tell the truth." She pulled out a chair and sat, finally dropping her bag to the floor. Her shoulders curled in like she was trying to disappear. It wasn't supposed to happen. I laughed. "Bitter." "Yeah. That's what they all say, isn't it?" "I didn't plan it," she said. "After Dad died, I was lost. Jake reached out. Just checking in. He heard about my dad. It started with a message. Then a call. And then a room," I said. She winced like I'd slapped her. But I didn't flinch. "It wasn't about sex," she said quickly. "It wasn't even like that at first. We just talked." He remembered things. From when we were young. From before life got heavy. That stung more than I expected. "Before me, you mean?" "No, Daniel, I never stopped loving you. I didn't cheat because I don't love you. She stopped. Hands trembled. I felt dead inside. After my dad, I couldn't feel anything. You were trying so hard to hold it all together, and I couldn't even breathe. Jake reminded me of who I used to be." "That girl died a long time ago," I said, quieter now. "You buried her the minute we said our vows and built a life. We had kids. A home. And you think going backward's gonna save you?" I was confused. Grieving. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I stood up slowly. Not to threaten, not to intimidate. I just couldn't sit anymore. "You did it, though. You lied to me. Lied to our kids. You disappeared and thought I'd just never notice. I thought I could end it before it went too far. I looked down at her. Too far? Melissa, you slept with him. You booked a hotel room and disappeared for 2 days. You looked me in the eye and lied to my face while I tucked our kids in bed. She was crying now. Full tears, mascara smudging. I didn't feel sorry. Not anymore. You can't take it back, I said. You don't get to break something and pretend it's not broken. So what now? She asked through tears. You leave, I said. Pack a bag and go to your mom's. Or anywhere. But you don't sleep under this roof tonight. She shook her head. Daniel, please. Let me explain this to the kids. Let me say goodbye. No, I said. They don't need this mess. Not right now. Not like this. She cried harder, but I was already walking away. I didn't slam the door behind me. Just shut it soft. The next few days were hell. I told Sarah and Max that Mom needed time with Grandma. That she was grieving and needed space. It was half true. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for. Sarah knew something was off. She kept watching me, like she was waiting for me to crack. I didn't. But I didn't sleep either. Melissa called. Texted. Sent emails. One night she even showed up at the door, eyes swollen, begging for just 5 minutes. I stood in the doorway and didn't let her past. I need time, I said. You had months to figure this out. Give me a few weeks to breathe. She nodded. Said she understood. Said she still loved me. Said she was sorry. I didn't say anything back. That was 3 weeks ago. She's still asking for another chance. Said she'd cut Jake off. Go to counseling. Swear on anything I want. But I haven't decided. The house is quieter now. I cook dinner. Do the laundry. Help Max with his science homework. Watch Sarah try to hide her broken heart behind sarcasm. Every morning I wake up and ask myself if I should call a lawyer. Every night, I fall asleep staring at the empty side of the bed. I don't know what the future holds. But I know this, I'm not the same man I was. I'm hurt. I'm angry. But I'm still standing. Maybe that's the start of something. There's a different kind of silence after betrayal. Not peaceful. Not restful. It hums under your skin. A low, constant static that makes it hard to think. Hard to breathe. The house had become too quiet. Not in the way it was before, when Melissa would be reading on the couch while the kids argued about who left the milk out. That was the silence of a life that didn't need noise to prove it was whole. This was the silence of absence. Of something missing and everyone knowing it but not daring to speak. Sarah kept herself busy. More than usual. School, after-school clubs, friends, even volunteering at the animal shelter. Anything to stay out of the house. I'd find her headphones plugged in even when the room was silent, not for music, just to shut out the rest of the world. Max retreated. He wasn't as obvious about it. Just quieter. Laughed less. He used to sit beside me on the couch while we watched old movies, making smart-ass comments and throwing popcorn. Now he watched from the other side of the room, arms crossed, saying little. I didn't press either of them. I just tried to keep the ship steady. Made dinner, cleaned up, drove them to where they needed to be, and when I couldn't sleep, I just sat in the dark and listened to the fridge hum. I missed Melissa. God help me, I missed her. Not the woman who lied. But the woman I thought I married. The one who curled up next to me during thunderstorms. The one who used to hum James Taylor in the kitchen while she cooked. The one who made me believe we were unbreakable. It's strange, grieving someone who's still alive. Because the woman I see now, in texts, in emails, even in the tearful voicemail she left last night, she's not the same. Or maybe I just never knew her at all. That's the part that eats you alive. I started going to the gym again. Nothing intense. Just enough to feel my legs burn and my lungs work. I needed something to remind me I was still here. One afternoon, while Max was at a friend's and Sarah was volunteering, I went through the garage. Cleaned out the shelves. Found a box labeled Daniel and Melissa, Early Years. It was dusty. Smelled like cedar and thyme. Inside were old Polaroids. Us on our honeymoon. Camping trips. Melissa holding baby Sarah in a sunlit nursery, eyes so full of love I had to look away. Ticket stubs. A dried rose from our 5th anniversary, pressed between pages of a journal. I sat there in the garage, cross-legged on the concrete, holding memories that felt like someone else's life. Melissa came by again. This time she brought a box of things I hadn't asked for. My favorite mug. A flannel shirt she'd washed and folded. The copy of To Kill a Mockingbird I'd been searching for. I found it in the guest room, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Thought you might want it back. I didn't invite her in. Just stood on the porch, arms crossed. She looked tired. Pale. Eyes puffy. She hadn't worn makeup. That used to mean something, comfort, familiarity. Now it just looked like she didn't care. I'm not here to make a scene, she said quickly. I miss you. I miss us. I said nothing. I ended it with him, she added. Right after that weekend. I knew I couldn't live with what I'd done. You already were, I said. Her face crumpled, and I hated myself for still caring. For still wanting her to hurt, and for hating that she did. I'm going to therapy, she said. Every week. Trying to understand why I let it happen. I nodded slowly. That's good. Silence stretched between us like barbed wire. Daniel, she said, stepping closer. I'm not asking for everything back. I want a chance. One real chance. For counseling. For healing. For us. I don't know, I said honestly. I'm still trying to put one foot in front of the other. I'll wait, she said. As long as it takes. I didn't respond. Just watched her walk away. Later that night, Sarah found me sitting outside, wrapped in a hoodie, nursing a cup of cold coffee. She sat down beside me without a word. After a while, she asked, "Is Mom coming back?" I didn't look at her. Just stared at the dark lawn. I don't know. She really messed up, Sarah said, picking at the cuff of her sleeve. I don't know if I can forgive her. You don't have to, I said. Not yet. Maybe not ever. She leaned her head against my shoulder. But you still love her, don't you? I exhaled. Yeah. I do. It was the first time I'd said it out loud since it all fell apart. And it hurt like hell. But it also felt like truth. The kind you have to walk through before you can walk away, or back. Sarah didn't say anything else. She just sat there with me, both of us staring into the dark, trying to find our way. Monday morning came like they always do, too early and too loud. Alarm screaming at 6 o'clock, coffee maker hissing like an old dog. I went through the motions. Shower, shave, pack the kids' lunches, start the car. Routine was the only thing holding me together. Sarah barely looked up from her cereal. Max shoved toast in his mouth, one shoe on, the other God knows where. Dad, where's my green hoodie? He asked, mouth full. Dryer, I said without looking up. Check behind the towels. Routine. That's what we had now. Not warmth. Not comfort. But rhythm. Like a train running out of track but still chugging because it doesn't know how to stop. At work, I found myself staring at spreadsheets without seeing them. My phone buzzed with texts from Melissa, some long, some short, all full of that aching kind of hope. I didn't delete them. Didn't answer either. Just let them sit there, like snow piling up on a porch you don't shovel. That afternoon, my boss pulled me aside. "You good?" he asked, eyebrows tight. "Yeah," I said, too quick. He didn't press. Just nodded and walked off. That's the thing about men like us, we don't poke too deep. Just enough to say we tried. Later that week, I went to see my buddy Troy. We'd been friends since college, same sense of humor, same taste in bourbon, same broken-in view of the world. He knew something was up just by the way I stood on his porch. We didn't hug. Just nodded and sat out back with 2 glasses of cheap whiskey. "I heard," he said finally. "Saw your face the other day and figured it wasn't a flat tire." I just looked at the glass in my hand. "Yeah." He didn't say sorry. Didn't ask questions. Just sat there, sipping, letting me get to it in my own time. "She lied," I finally said. "Cheated. With her ex." Troy winced like he'd been gut-punched. "How long?" he asked. "Months." "Damn." Silence. "Do the kids know?" "No," I said. "Just told them she's staying with her mom for a while." He nodded. "Smart. They'll figure it out eventually, though." "I know." More silence. "Jesus, man," he muttered. 18 years. "Yeah. You gonna divorce her?" "I don't know." He looked over at me, eyes sharp. "That ain't a no." I laughed, dry, bitter. "It's not a yes either." He poured another round. "Well, hell. You need anything, I'm here." I nodded. It didn't fix anything, but it meant something. Melissa sent me a letter the next day. Not an email, not a text, a real envelope with her handwriting on it. I sat in the driveway for a good 10 minutes before opening it. "Daniel. I know I've lost your trust. I don't blame you if you never forgive me. But I need you to know, I've never once stopped loving you. I don't expect that to mean anything right now. Maybe not ever. I just hope that someday, if the pain starts to lift, you'll remember the life we built. The good years. I miss the way you laugh in the morning when your toast lands butter side down. I miss the way you hum Springsteen under your breath when you're focused. I miss the man who made me feel safe in a world that never was. I broke us. But I want to fix it, even if it takes years. Love always. Melissa." I folded the letter and put it in the glove box. Didn't tear it up. Didn't reread it. Just let it sit there with the expired registration and half a pack of gum. Friday night, Max came into the living room after dinner, game controller in hand. "Dad?" he asked. "Yeah, bud?" He stood there a second, then said, "Are you and Mom getting a divorce?" I felt like the air got sucked out of the room. "Why do you ask?" I said slowly. "Because you're sad. And she's not here." I didn't lie. "Not this time." "We're going through something hard," I said. "I don't know what's going to happen yet. But I'm here. For you and your sister. Always." He nodded. Then, without saying anything else, he walked over and hugged me. Just held on. And I held back. Because no matter what happens with Melissa, I'm still a father. And right now, that's the only thing I know for sure. The hardest part of heartbreak isn't the pain, it's the doubt. The second guessing. The waking up in the middle of the night thinking maybe it was your fault. Maybe if you'd been more attentive. Less tired. More fun. Less predictable. Maybe if you'd been different, she wouldn't have gone looking for something else. You start replaying every conversation, every date night, every fight. Digging through memories like a dog after a buried bone, hoping to find where you went wrong. That week, I couldn't stop digging. Sarah and Max were watching TV when Melissa showed up again. I wasn't expecting her. She knocked, waited. I opened the door and stepped outside before the kids could look up. "You can't just come by unannounced," I said. She looked nervous. Hands shoved into her coat pockets. "I'm sorry. I just wanted to talk. Face to face. I told you I need time." "I know. I'm not trying to rush you, I swear. But I miss them. I miss the kids." That hit a nerve. My jaw clenched. "You think I don't?" "No, I know you do. You've been the rock, Daniel. You always are." "But maybe we could," she hesitated. "Could I see them? Just dinner. Here. I'll leave after. I want to see them." I stared at her a long moment. She looked older. Softer. Like whatever armor she wore was crumbling. "I'll ask them," I said. "But if they say no, it's no." She nodded. "Fair." I closed the door. Stood there for a second before walking into the living room. "Hey," I said gently. "That was your mom. She'd like to have dinner here one night this week. Just dinner. No staying. You okay with that?" Max looked up at me, eyes unsure. "Will she stay long?" "No," I said. "Just a meal. You can say no. You have every right." Sarah didn't speak for a second. Then, softly, "Is she still seeing him?" "No," I said. "She says it's over." "She said a lot of things," Sarah muttered, standing up and walking out of the room. Max looked at me and shrugged. "I guess, if Sarah's okay with it." We settled on Thursday. I grilled burgers. She brought coleslaw, her own recipe, the one Sarah always used to ask for. It was awkward at first. Quiet. Max talked about his video game. Sarah said nothing. Melissa asked questions like a stranger at a dinner party. I watched her face carefully, the way her eyes searched for connection, the way she hesitated before reaching for the ketchup. After dinner, she helped me do the dishes. We didn't speak much, just worked side by side like old times. When the last plate was clean, she dried her hands and looked at me. "I'd do anything to go back," she said. "To unmake the choices I made." "You can't," I said. "We both know that." She nodded, eyes glassy. "But maybe we can make something new," she whispered. "Different. Honest." I didn't say anything. She left without another word. That night, I sat on the porch with a beer and an old photo album. Our wedding, our first apartment, Melissa laughing in the snow with Sarah in her arms. She looked happy. So did I. And that's the hell of it. It wasn't all bad. Some of it was beautiful. That's what makes the betrayal cut so deep, not because she was a stranger, but because she wasn't. Because the hands that undid us were the same hands that once held our children, brushed my cheek, pulled me through the hardest years of my life. It's like being stabbed by your own reflection. Friday morning, I got an email from a divorce attorney. A referral from Troy. No pressure, just an introduction and some paperwork attached if I wanted to get the ball rolling. I left it in my inbox. Didn't open the file. Not yet. I wasn't ready. But the fact that I didn't delete it, that said something. There's this space people don't talk about, the middle of things. Not the fall, not the recovery. Just that long stretch where you're walking through the wreckage, not sure if you're rebuilding or just looking for a place to sit down and cry. That's where I was. Not angry anymore. Not broken either. Just numb. The kids were adjusting in their own way. Sarah started asking for rides again. Not because she needed them, but because she wanted to sit in silence with me for a while. Every so often, she'd ask questions that were too sharp for her age. Stuff like, how do you know if you can trust someone again? Or, did you ever think Mom would be the one to do this? I never had the answers she wanted. But I told her the truth, even when it wasn't clean. Max, on the other hand, tried to joke through it. He made sarcastic comments about Mom's spiritual journey, or how she should have just gone on a yoga retreat like normal people. It was funny, sure, but I could see the hurt in his eyes every time he laughed. We were all limping through it, just in different ways. Melissa kept reaching out. Not every day anymore. But enough. She sent a photo one morning, Max's 3rd birthday, frosting smeared across his cheeks, Sarah trying to shove cake in his mouth while I held him up. The 4 of us in a frame, blurry and imperfect, but happy. We were good, she wrote. We were. But that didn't mean we still were. One night, after the kids were asleep, I finally opened that email from the divorce lawyer. The attachment was a simple packet: name, date, reason for separation, custody preferences. Fill in the blanks. It felt like a death certificate. I didn't fill it out. Just printed it and put it in the desk drawer next to our old tax returns. Part of me needed to know it was there. Like a fire escape I hoped I'd never use. A week later, Melissa called. Not to beg. Not to talk about the past. Can we go to counseling, she asked. Not to fix us, just to talk. To be better for the kids, if nothing else. I didn't answer right away. I'm not asking for a second chance, she said. Not today. I'm asking for honesty. From both of us. I said yes. Not because I was ready to forgive her, but because I needed to hear her say it all out loud. In front of someone who wouldn't let her run. The therapist's office was small, warm, filled with soft lighting and uncomfortable truths. Melissa sat with her hands in her lap. I leaned back in the chair like it could somehow hold my disappointment. I betrayed him, she said, before the therapist even asked a question. I didn't fall out of love. I fell out of myself. I didn't speak. She went on. Talked about her dad dying, about feeling invisible, about how Jake felt like a mirror from a life before mortgages and schedules and the weight of being everything to everyone. I wanted to feel like someone again, she said. And I didn't know how to tell you that without breaking something. You broke it anyway, I said. I know. We sat in the silence that followed. The therapist didn't fill it. Just let it be. Melissa looked at me and said, You didn't fail me, Daniel. I failed myself. You were always there. I just wasn't. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just nodded. Because sometimes the truth isn't freeing. It's heavy. Like a coat you carry even after the rain stops. We kept going. One session turned into 2, then 3. We weren't trying to save the marriage. Not yet. Maybe not ever. We were just trying to clean out the wounds so they didn't fester. And every time I walked out of that office, I felt a little lighter. Not better. But less buried. The house still felt quiet. The bed still cold on one side. But I started cooking real meals again. I laughed more. Sarah hugged me once, out of nowhere. Max asked if we could build a fire pit in the backyard. Maybe we were all healing. In small, slow steps. And maybe, just maybe, I was starting to believe I could be okay. With or without her. By the 4th therapy session, I stopped checking the clock. I don't know what shifted exactly. Maybe it was Melissa finally dropping the explanations and just sitting with the hurt. Maybe it was me realizing that I'd been walking around with a wound so deep I couldn't even feel it anymore, not until I started speaking out loud. There was one session where the therapist asked me, "Daniel, what do you want? Not what you think you should want. Not what people expect. Just, what you want." I didn't have an answer. That scared the hell out of me. I'd spent so long being the steady one, the provider, the planner, the guy who holds the line. I didn't stop to ask myself if I was happy, just whether everyone else was okay. Maybe that's part of how we got here. Doesn't excuse what she did, not by a mile, but it made me start looking in the mirror a little harder. So I made some changes. Nothing dramatic. Just started saying no to things I didn't want. Took an actual lunch break at work. Went hiking one Saturday. Alone. No phone. Just me and the trail. I felt stupid at first, like I was playing at some midlife crisis I never asked for. But after an hour, I was breathing deeper. Not thinking about court papers or counseling or what Sarah wasn't saying behind her closed bedroom door. I just walked. One foot in front of the other. It felt good. Back home, things had settled into a new rhythm. Melissa wasn't living with us, but she came by more often. Sometimes for dinner. Sometimes to drop off something for the kids. Sometimes just to sit on the porch and talk. We were careful. Civil, but not cold. She knew better than to ask if she could come back. I hadn't said no. But I hadn't said yes either. The kids noticed, of course. Max started cracking jokes about split-parent bonuses, like double desserts and fewer chores. Sarah was harder to read, quieter, more watchful. One night I found her in the kitchen at midnight, pouring herself a glass of water. "You can't just pretend it didn't happen," she said, without looking at me. "I'm not," I said. She turned to face me. "Then why is she still here?" Smiling. Laughing. Like nothing changed. "Because we're trying," I said. "Not to forget. Just to move." "Move where?" she asked. "Back? Forward?" I don't get it. Neither did I. But I told her the truth. "I don't know, baby. I'm figuring it out one day at a time." She didn't like the answer. But she didn't walk away either. A few days later, Melissa asked if we could take the kids out. Just the four of us. Not a reconciliation. Just a family day. Like we used to. I thought about it long and hard. And then I said yes. We went to the zoo. Walked around for hours. Ate overpriced pretzels. Watched Max try to imitate the monkeys and nearly fall into the enclosure. Even Sarah cracked a smile when a parrot said hello in a voice way too close to Melissa's. It wasn't perfect. But it wasn't fake, either. It was real. Complicated. Bittersweet. On the drive home, Melissa reached for my hand. I didn't pull away. But I didn't hold on, either. That night, I stood in the backyard, staring at the stars. Thinking about how we started. How we ended. And whether there was still something in between worth saving. I still hadn't filed the papers. They were still in that drawer, waiting. But I was changing. Quietly. Slowly. And for the first time in months, I wasn't afraid of that. A man doesn't expect his life to fracture at 45. That's the sort of thing you think you're done with, the late nights, the heartbreak, the questions about who you are and what you want. By that age, you think the clay's been set. Molded. Fired in the kiln. But I was learning that sometimes life doesn't shatter. Sometimes it just warps, quiet, slow, almost invisible. Until you're holding something in your hands that looks familiar, but doesn't quite fit anymore. That's what being around Melissa felt like now. Familiar. But changed. We started talking more often, on the porch, after she dropped off the kids, during the walks she started taking in the neighborhood again. She didn't push. Didn't beg. Just showed up. She told me she was still going to therapy. Alone now. Said it helped her understand things about herself she'd never questioned. How much of her identity was built around being needed. How quickly she'd learned to put herself last, until she couldn't feel anything anymore. How Jake hadn't been about love, just escape. I listened. But I didn't respond much. Not because I didn't care. Because I was still trying to decide if I could care again. One Sunday afternoon, she brought over a photo album. One of the old ones we hadn't looked through in years. We sat on the back porch while Max kicked a soccer ball into the fence and Sarah read a book in the hammock. Melissa opened to a page from our early years. Us in matching Halloween costumes. A beach trip where I had more hair and she had fewer worries in her eyes. The kids as toddlers, messy and wild and beautiful. Look at this one, she said, pointing to a picture of us holding the kids at the park. You're laughing. I looked down at it. I was. A real laugh, the kind you can't fake. You used to smile like that all the time, she said softly. I didn't know what was coming, I said. She closed the album and nodded. Neither did I. That night, I stared at the ceiling, wondering how many versions of myself I'd lived through since this whole mess began. The angry man. The quiet one. The father who kept everything from falling apart. The husband who didn't know if he still was a husband. And now? Now I was someone standing at the edge of something. I just didn't know if it was a cliff or a bridge. A week later, Melissa asked to meet, not at the house, not with the kids, just the two of us. We sat at the park where we used to take the kids when they were little. The swing still creaked like they always had. I've been thinking, she said. I don't want to come back just because it's familiar. Or because it's what we had. I want to build something new. If you'll let me. I looked at her. The same eyes I'd watched fall asleep beside me for almost 2 decades. The same hands that had held our babies. The same voice that once promised forever. I'm not the same man, I said. And I'm not sure I want to be married to the same woman. I'm not the same woman, she said. And maybe that's a good thing. We sat in silence, letting that truth breathe. Then she said something I wasn't expecting. If you want to divorce me, I'll sign whatever you need. No fight. No dragging it out. You deserve peace. I didn't answer. Not yet. But I realized, in that moment, that maybe I wasn't holding on to the marriage anymore, maybe I was holding on to the idea of who I used to be with her. And maybe, just maybe, I was ready to let that go. Grief isn't loud. That's what nobody tells you. It doesn't scream or weep or announce itself. Most days, it just walks beside you, quiet as your own shadow. That's what life felt like lately. Not painful, not peaceful. Just weighty. Like I was carrying something I couldn't name. Some days it was hope. Others, regret. Some nights I couldn't tell the difference. Melissa kept her word. No pressure. No drama. Just presence. She showed up for the kids, school meetings, soccer games, Max's science fair. She brought cookies to Sarah's debate team fundraiser and stood in the back while Sarah pretended not to notice, then smiled when she did. And the thing that gutted me most? She did it right. Like the woman I used to know. Like the woman who, if I squinted, still looked like the one I fell in love with. One night I found Sarah in the garage, sitting cross-legged by the old treadmill, earphones in, eyes glassy. You okay? I asked. She pulled one earbud out. Just thinking. I sat beside her, both of us quiet for a minute. Then she said, "You think you'll forgive her?" It hit me right in the chest. Not because of the question, but because of how soft she asked it. Like it was a secret too fragile to speak. "I don't know," I said. "Some days I think I already have. Other days I think I never will." She nodded. "I get that." "She hurt us," I added, after a pause. "I know," Sarah whispered. "But she's still Mom." "Yeah," I said. "She is." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "I don't want to hate her. I don't want you to. I just want it to stop feeling like this." I didn't say anything. Because sometimes the only thing worse than feeling broken is pretending you're not. That weekend, I took the kids on a short trip. Just the three of us. A cabin by the lake. No phones, no TV. Just fishing rods, card games, and the smell of pine trees in every room. The first night, we made s'mores over the fire pit. Max fell asleep on the couch with marshmallow in his hair. Sarah and I sat on the porch wrapped in a blanket. "Feels normal," she said. "Yeah," I said. "Almost." "I think she's trying," she added. "She is." "Do you still love her?" I didn't hesitate this time. "Yes." She looked at me. "Then why haven't you let her come back?" "Because love isn't enough," I said. "Not anymore." Sarah didn't answer. Just looked back at the stars. Like maybe they'd give her better answers than I ever could. The night we got back, Melissa stopped by to pick something up. She saw the kids sleeping on the couch, smelled the pine still clinging to our clothes, and smiled. "You look happy," she said. "We had a good time." "That's good." We stood in the hallway, the air thick with things unsaid. "You still thinking about the divorce?" she asked quietly. I nodded. "Every day." She looked down, fingers fidgeting with the zipper on her coat. "If you do it, I'll understand." "And if I don't?" She met my eyes. "Then I'll spend every day earning it." I didn't answer. Just watched her leave. I didn't want her to go. But I didn't stop her either. They say time heals everything. That's a lie. Time doesn't heal. It just softens the edges, rounds the corners so the pain doesn't slice you open every time you breathe. It's been 5 months since I found out about Melissa and Jake. 5 months since the house cracked down the middle. 5 months since I stopped being the man I thought I was. I'm still here. That counts for something. We never filed the papers. Not yet. They're still in the drawer, yellowed at the corners, untouched. Melissa hasn't brought them up again. I haven't either. Not because we're pretending. But because we're living in that strange, quiet place between ending and beginning. I sleep alone most nights. She still lives at her mother's. Comes by for dinner. Helps with homework. We talk like two people rebuilding a porch we once danced on, careful with every board. But the old house is gone. We both know that. Whatever comes next has to be built from scratch. Sarah asked if she could stay after school to talk to a counselor. She said it like a confession. I told her I was proud of her. Max asked if we could get a dog. I told him not yet. I'm still not ready to take care of anything that might love me unconditionally. Some nights, after the kids are asleep, I sit out on the porch and watch the lights in the distance. People coming home. Garage doors rising. Laughter spilling out of cracked windows. I wonder how many of them are pretending. How many are living with ghosts? How many are holding hands with someone they love but don't trust? Love is easy. Trust is earned, and once broken, it's a mountain, not a step. Melissa knows that now. So do I. The last time she sat on this porch with me, she didn't bring apologies. She brought 2 mugs of coffee. We sat in silence for a while, steam curling between us like a bridge. Then she said, "I know I don't deserve another chance." I didn't argue. And I know I might not get one. Still, I said nothing. "But if you ever decide you can try again, really try, I'll be here." She left the coffee. Kissed me on the cheek. Walked to her car. I didn't stop her. But I didn't close the door either. Some days, I miss what we had so bad it hurts. Other days, I'm grateful it broke, because maybe now I see things I never would have otherwise. Like how fragile love really is. How strong forgiveness has to be. And how sometimes surviving something doesn't mean you're whole, it just means you're still standing. And maybe that's enough. For now.